First announcement concerns the Winona for 2015. I want everybody to know that the dates for Winona 2015 have been set for June 6th and 7th. The Park Rec Department wanted to announce the dates early in the year so that the public can make accommodations. These dates are 1 week earlier than in years past. The official license agreement will come before council in the coming months, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact the Park Rec Department. This is a very big event for Winona, so we need to be well prepared for that. Also, the City of Winona will be holding an informational meeting about the East End Neighborhood Revitalization Program. There will be a meeting on Monday, January 26, 2015 at 5:30 at the East End Rec Center. The city has been awarded a total of $497,500 from the Minnesota Housing and Greater Minnesota Housing Fund. And if you want more information about that, you can contact the Community Development Office here at City Hall. Also, want to mention the United Way has an event coming up on January 30th at Jefferson's from 11 to 1. It's a fundraiser for all of the agencies that they serve in this community. It's called Super Bowl. With Super, S-O-U-P-E-R. They'll be serving, I think, 17 different kinds of soup that day, so plan on that. Also, want to thank all the first responders that responded to another accident out by Fleet Farm yesterday. Very bad accident, and I hope MnDOT's paying attention out there. We've certainly had our share of some really bad accidents at that site. Also want to thank a city worker who wants to remain anonymous, but who went to the aid of somebody who had fallen out in Knott Valley in their driveway and was laying there for approximately an hour before the street worker came upon him and helped and came to his aid. And just want to say kudos to our street department snowplow crew. We don't hear a lot of really positive things about them, but they do a great job, and in this instance, they may have made the difference in saving somebody's life. And that's all I have. City Manager?
I just want to remind the public that the State of Minnesota Department of Transportation will be holding the state rail meeting here on their final plan next Monday, January 26th from 5 to 7 o'clock here in the council chambers. So if you have any issues and want to see about what's going to happen under the state rail plan, please be aware that you're more than welcome to come and listen to that presentation. And it'll be an open house, so there'll be time for individual discussions with the staff. In addition, the Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring an Eggs and Issues on Friday morning, State of the City and County, and the mayor will be making a presentation on the state of the city that morning.
Thank you.
That's all.
Roll call.
Mayor Peterson.
Here.
Councilman Thurley.
Here.
Craig.
Here.
Alexander. Iden. Wojciechowski.
Here.
Double.
Here.
Under the required public hearings, item 2.1 is the consideration of an establishment of the Tax Increment Finance District Number 3 for the Windcraft Expansion Project.
I'll declare the public hearing open and ask if Lucy McMartin, our Economic Development Director, would speak first.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Council. I have just a few brief slides to discuss the proposed Windcraft expansion project. We've been working with this project for quite some time with Windcraft. They're, of course, a 54-year-old company here in Winona. They're a domestic manufacturer of promotional products. Of course, technology has been a very big part of their business and more important as time has gone on. They have locations and facilities in Winona, in Lakeville, in Baraboo, Wisconsin, and in Woodinville, Washington. Of course, you probably recognize some of these logos here. They have a wide range of licenses for their promotional materials. And they're very busy right now with the NFL part of that. This shows a picture of where the business would be going in Technology Park. That's a 120,000 square foot facility that would be built in this area. The land would be sold by the Port Authority who has reviewed and recommended this project to the City Council. Now, the tool being used or proposed to be used for this is tax increment financing. So a base is established and taxes are paid on that base to the county, school, and city. Eligible costs to then be paid out of the increment are site preparation and soil remediation costs, both of which we have, making this project higher than anticipated in cost. The proposed tax increment district would be for an 8-year term, and this term could be reduced if the increment is collected in an earlier time period. The tax increment district being proposed is a pay-as-you-go. In other words, the city and Port Authority are not selling bonds, and the capital for the cost of construction is coming from the developer. Winona County will collect property tax on the facility, and a portion of that, the increment, would come to the city and go into a city budget for eligible costs outlined in the TIF plan. Now, the current estimated, these are based off estimates from Springstead, our financial consultant. The estimated market value of the 6.3 acre site is just under $265,000. And you see there what the tax capacity is at that site. You can see by the end of the tax increment in 2025, we estimate the value would be $5.7 million with a tax capacity of $117,684. This is a summary. You have a copy of a TIF plan in your packet, and it has a lot of numbers and schedules, but this summarizes the total tax increment is estimated to be just over $850,000. A portion of that will be retained by the city, since we do have to include it in our city annual financial report. In addition, the Port Authority will have a budget and will be charged with doing the reports to the state auditor for the TIF. The net TIF to the company would be $768,130. Now, this is over an 8-year period, so if you take a look at what that would mean in today's dollars, it would be just over $605,000. Now, this proposed expansion is in compliance with the city's comprehensive plan, where in the economic development component of that plan, we talk about responsible planned land use. This is, of course, an industrial park developed by the Port Authority for this purpose. We talk about the retention and growth of existing businesses and supporting the development and retention of a productive workforce. And this will result in a minimum of 10 jobs, most likely more jobs. The Port Authority supports the creation of the tax increment financing district. This was brought before the Winona County EDA, and they supported the project as well. Now, there's 1,784 TIF districts in Minnesota. That's according to a 2014 report from the state auditor. We currently have no TIF districts in Winona. We have used programs in the past that do help alleviate property taxes or have some other advantage to the business using it. We used Job Z, which sunsets in 2015, by the way, for Hal Leonard and Winona Canoe. We've used the Minnesota Investment Fund for recently the SciTech project. Industrial development bonds have been used when we've had Bay State Milling acquiring large, expensive equipment. We've utilized abatement, which also ends in 2015, for low and moderate income housing at Washington Crossing. And the Port Authority has helped multiple businesses through their revolving loan fund. So this is another tool available to the Port Authority with council approval. And company officials are here to answer any specific questions that you may have about the project. There's a number of steps involved. Tonight is the public hearing, and if council concurs, there's a resolution to establish the tax increment district this evening. At the next council meeting on February 2nd, we would bring forth the development agreement, and the Port Authority will review a business assistance agreement on February 12th. After that time period, we would anticipate closing on the property shortly after that.
Thank you, Lucy. Anybody else wish to speak to this topic? Please identify yourself, and your address. Identify yourself and your address, please.
I don't know, some of you probably don't know me, I'm Dick Pope, CEO at Winocraft. I've been there 35, 36 years, ever since I became a partner with the founders of the company. John Killen, our president and chief operating officer, is with me this evening. He's been with me 25 years, so we've been around the community a while. First, I'd like to thank Judy and Lucy and Myron for the work that they've done with us over a number of years. It's taken us a while to get to this point. And I'd appreciate any consideration that any of you can give us. You saw Winocraft was founded in 1961 with two full-time employees and 2 part-time. The first location was around the Sunset Cafe, a couple of blocks down the street. Right now, and the product line was buttons and pom-poms and the direct mail school catalog. We've grown to where we currently operate from 11 locations, 8 of them in Winona. And as you saw, 3 of them out of the state. We currently employ from 550 to over 600 people, depending on the season. Give a little background, why the project. We've seen our customer requirements change a lot over the last 5 years. And if we're to sustain our growth, we feel that we've got to consolidate some operations to become more efficient in this process. So from there, our plan, if this is approved, we also have another project that we're involved in town. We have a purchase agreement out to purchase the original Hal Leonard building, which we expect to close next month. With this project and the Hal Leonard project, we would move 2 other companies, or not other companies, 2 divisions of our business from outside the community to Winona, in addition to what we're doing here. Those 2 businesses, which are currently employ from 40 to 50 people, which we would, this would help support that we can move around and do some consolidation. So that's outside of the project you're discussing tonight. If this is approved, we'll do that. If it's not, then we've got to make a different plan. So that gives you a little background on what we're doing there. Our preference would be to expand in Winona, where we have a core of very good employees, and we've been for a long time, and we've enjoyed working in the city. I might add, I've had calls from Governor Dayton and his development director encouraging us to stay here and in the state of Minnesota. There's a lot of competition out there right now, I find it, for businesses, but again, our preference would be to stay right here. Does anyone have any questions? I'd be happy to.
I guess there aren't any questions at this time. No questions at this time,
Thank you.
but thank you.
I'm John Killen, members of council, mayor. I believe that Lucy and Dick have covered most of this project very well. We did bring site maps, which Lucy did in a PowerPoint presentation. This is, of course, Technology Park, and the location of the facility is on about 6 acres of property there. It's 120,000 square feet, and would be one of 4 locations in Winona. When you look at what the facility may look like, if we move forward with the project, you can see a very well-designed building by architects here in Winona. With the population of that building during the day, about 120 people, and second shift and third shift, 70 to 30 people, depending on, of course, the season of the year. Our average wage lanes in this facility would be about $12.61 to about $20 on an hourly work basis. would like to solicit your support and answer any questions that you may have. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak?
Good evening, my name is Dana Johnson. I live at 494 Cary Court, Winona. Mayor, City Manager, Council. I'm also a member of the Winona Port Authority, and this project has been presented to the Port Authority, and as a group, we support this. I'd also like to personally thank Dick, John, and Wincraft for choosing Winona to grow their business in. What all people need to understand as citizens of Winona, that growing in Winona is a choice, especially a business that has divisions that aren't presently located in Winona. So I really want to make it known that them choosing to move these divisions to Winona helps Winona. So it's really great that as a group we have the opportunity, and as a city, the state legislature has provided a vehicle like tax increment financing in order to make a project like this happen. And so anything that we can do to support growth in Winona, and the fact that we have this vehicle to make it happen, is a real plus. So thank you, and thank you for the support of this project.
Thank you.
Good evening, Della Schmidt, President, Winona Area Chamber of Commerce, Mayor Peterson, members of the council. I was speaking on behalf of the chamber this evening, and we encourage your support of this TIF request. The Chamber of Commerce stands supportive with this project. And of course, we all know that growing in Winona can be a challenge for our companies because we have very little developable land left. And so when we have tools available, such as the TIF financing, to come alongside established businesses, help them continue to grow here, stay here, create more jobs here, we want to be enthusiastic with our support, as we know that you do as well. So we thank you in advance for your support of this company and this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Rich Meichert. I reside at 1355 Grandview Court in the city of Goodview. I'm also a member of the Winona County EDA, and at our last meeting, it was brought before the EDA and it was approved unanimously at the EDA meeting. I want to tell you just a quick little story. A few days ago, Levon and I were doing some shopping at a local store in Winona, and we were going to buy some silverware for our home. And we started looking at the product and found none of the offers in the store was made in the United States. Kind of curious, but not surprising. So we decided, just for fun, we kind of made some trips up and down the aisles in the store, some random trips. And we probably looked at maybe up to 2 or 3 dozen items. And we found one item that was made in the United States. Of those 2 or 3. There was even greeting cards that were printed out of the country. Here today, we have an opportunity to support a local business made in the U.S., made in Minnesota, and made in Winona, Minnesota. It's been a good corporate citizen, and I think it deserves the thanks for being in business, and since 1961, supporting employees, supporting the economy, and all our local services. I know this has been a good corporate citizen, supporting in schools, churches, and whatever. So I would strongly urge you to pass a resolution to do this tax financing. Thank you much for your attention.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here that wishes to speak? Anybody else wish to speak? Last time. Anybody else wish to speak? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and open it up for council discussion.
Mayor, I would move to establish the tax increment financing district number 3 for the Wheatcraft expansion project. So we can get it on the board for discussion.
Okay, motion by Al, seconded by Jerry. Discussion?
As a council representative on the Port Authority, we have had discussions over the months with the folks at Windcraft, and city staff has been very helpful in laying out the TIF process, and I heartily recommend this to the council for approval. And I think, again, as everyone has said tonight, it's a win for our community. Windcraft, never mind. Anyway.
Well, I too, I think it's a great project, and I've been hearing about this from the staff who I know have worked very hard on this project with Windcraft company officials, and I'm glad to see it before the council tonight, and I think it's really is a win for Winona, and I think that it's a good project, it's a great company, and you know, it seems like you do a lot to promote the city of Winona with our name on everything that you produce and all the publicity that you've received, including a lot of national publicity. So thank you for what you're doing. George?
And also as a Port Authority member too, I agree with Al and Dana. And we talk about tourism, if I said that word properly, they are a very big promoter of tourism. I was in Hinsdale, Illinois, and a gentleman showed me a school button manufactured in Winona, Windcraft Corporation. So you're all over the country, so promoting Winona.
Any other discussion?
I just want to make a general comment about TIF. You know, I think the city has been very conservative in its use of this program. TIF is out there for if companies qualify, so they can contact our city's community development department if they have any questions and if they think TIF programs and those kinds of things might be a fit for them.
Okay. Nothing else, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries. Congratulations.
Next item, public hearing for the appeal of the decision of the Board of Adjustment, Fairway Outdoor Advertising, item 2.2.
I'll declare the public hearing open. And anybody from staff? Let me get caught up to my paperwork here. Yes. All right, why don't we begin with our city attorney, Mr. Hood?
Evening, Mayor and Council.
Actually, that's
Almost
better.
over the table.
Sorry.
You have before you this evening an appeal of an order of the Board of Adjustment denying a variance to Fairway Outdoor Advertising LLC. Fairway is seeking a variance to a requirement in city code, actually two requirements for placement of a billboard sign. The current requirement is no off-premise sign within 650 feet of another off-premise sign. They would like to locate this particular sign within 250 feet. And then you also have a limit on the height of these signs at 40 feet, and they're seeking variance to allow a sign at 47 feet. I think the primary reason this is coming to you at this time is with the bridge reconstruction. MnDOT has acquired property where their existing sign was located, resulting in, I think, this request coming before you. So tonight, the issue that you have before you is whether you desire to affirm the decision of the Board of Adjustment, to affirm the decision of the Board of Adjustment but modify the findings of the Board of Adjustment, or to overrule the decision of the Board of Adjustment and make your own findings. As with, and I think you are fairly familiar with variance requests these days, given that we've had a few of these come forward, variance requests are granted or denied based on findings applying the 6 statutory criteria. There is a proposed alternate resolution in your packet tonight for your consideration. And I think once you've obviously had the public testimony and then heard from city staff, you'll have an opportunity to deliberate and decide which one.
Okay, thank you. And because this is a an appeal from the Board of Adjustment. The council serves in a quasi-judicial manner on this, and we will be giving Fairway Outdoor Advertising up to 20 minutes to show why the decision of the Board of Adjustment should be overruled or amended. So, representative from the Fairway Outdoor Advertising.
Good evening. Excuse me, not talking for a while, kind of get a frog in my throat. My name is Keith Carson. I'm with Fairway Outdoor Advertising in La Crosse, Wisconsin. I sent you the appeal in which the reasons for why I stated that we sought the appeal of the decision of the Board of Adjustment. The only reason that we're here tonight is because the MnDOT Interstate Bridge Project, where they're building another lane, which is going to take our existing 4-beam sign, and we have to remove it. We have to look for another location. As we look for another location, generally the same area, because we have signs on different highways, different locations throughout different communities, and it's sort of like spokes on a wheel, where you want to get different geographic and demographics. The reason why we got put in this position is because we had to relocate. We have to be able to relocate the sign, and that the way the ordinance is written does not, allow for a sign to be adjacent to that location. That's why we sought the Board of Adjustment decision. After taking a second look and filing the appeal, I took a look at that, and where we want to place the sign is on the Timbers property, and that property is a little bit higher than the current location. So I think we can meet the 40-foot height requirement, but the 650-foot from another sign, I think that's going to be, we cannot meet that, so we'll still need the appeal on that decision. I don't know that the harm, lost my notes here for a second. If we could, and I think we could address some of the aesthetic issues that were brought up at the Board of Adjustment, and also the Chamber of Commerce. They're not necessarily opposed to the sign, but they want to be aesthetically pleasing. One thing that we would do is we build a sign similar to what we did on the county property. And I think that was a win-win I think for the city, the county, and at the time we were Collins, but now Fairway, is that we were able to accommodate the county so they could have additional parking. We could address the aesthetics for the type of sign, and then make that look nice. And so I think the county won, the city won, and then Fairway won. I don't think that, it's going to be located in a commercial area. It's going to meet the criteria of what the state requires. It's one small piece as far as the ordinance that we can. I looked for other locations within the city, and I don't believe that there's any other locations that would be viable to meet the same geographics and demographics that we currently have for the sign. And we have signs in other areas of the city that meet that criteria. We have a landowner that is willing and able, and we have a lease sign with him to move it to that location. I think it retains the character of the city. Signs belong in commercial corridors, and that's where the sign would be. And I think as you look at my appeal, I think you see a lot of the reasons that are written in that. Some of the things that were brought up at the Board of Adjustment, they talked about traffic safety and those things, and I included that with the appeal for your reading. I think it's a good solution to move the sign over to the Timbers property, and with the appeal of the 650 foot, we'll hit the 40-foot height requirement to make that work. And hopefully you all had the opportunity to see the pictures and also look at the location that we did at the county property. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that anybody would have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Carson from council? George?
The sign that we're seeking to distance from, you also own that sign, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's, okay.
Yeah. And we have local advertisers on that sign.
Other questions? I guess not. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Now we'll open it up to members of the audience. Ask that you keep your comments to no more than 2 minutes. If there's anybody that wishes to speak.
Good evening again, members of the council, mayor. Want to clarify a couple of points. The Chamber of Commerce not only is not in any sort of opposition for this request, but we would also like to encourage the council to make every reasonable effort to meet the needs of this business. Fairway Outdoor Advertising has proven to be a good business partner in Winona area. It appears that they are coming forth with a win-win proposal. And of course, we know, and this will not be the end of properties being displaced and things being changed because of the bridge project. And just like we, as a community, worked with Dahl Auto in their replacement, moving of their business, there will be other businesses and other impacts from this project as it moves forward over the next few years. So this is just another step in that process, and we would encourage the City Council to look favorably upon this request and see what we can do to help meet this business need as they're being displaced. Understanding, of course, that, again, this is a commercial corridor, and the sign that's being proposed is not down in the area of Levy Park or the proposed bike paths or some of the green space that's being proposed near the river. So again, it's encouraging to have the beautification that has been envisioned by the Visual Quality Committee that MnDOT put together maintained, because this sign is not proposed in that area. Thank you.
Could I ask you a question, Dylan?
Sure.
I don't know if you can speak for the Main Street program, but I seem to remember that they spoke against this at the Board of Adjustment. Do you know if that's still their position?
Again, a clarification, Main Street did not speak against it. A letter was submitted. I believe that city staff should still have record of that, and it clearly stated that there is no opposition, but rather that aesthetics be considered. So Main Street did not oppose this project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify that.
Well, I'm John Finn. I live at 352 West 4th at the edge of downtown. And I request that the Board of Adjustments denial of the variance be upheld based on the possibility that the surrounding area might be redeveloped in a manner befitting its status as the river crossing into Minnesota and of the scenic Riverview Drive entrance into downtown Winona. Now, as of now, the criteria about changing the character of the location, it wouldn't prohibit relocating the billboard or even adding many more of them. There's little attention to aesthetic street enhancements, pedestrian amenities, or landscaping other than what the American did with their riverfront building and lawn. However, the efforts of the Bridge Project Citizen Volunteer Visual Quality Committee, along with the possibility of Levy Park being extended to Huff Street, makes me hopeful about the redevelopment of the area when the bridge construction is finished. I'll also point out that Winona is going to reevaluate and updating its zoning ordinance, which could affect how future outdoor advertising is regulated in commercial districts or along riverfront corridors. So maybe this variance decision should be postponed until the bridge project is completed and we have a better idea of whether this billboard is an appropriate addition for whatever becomes of the Huff and Second Streets area.
Okay, thank you.
Winona, and I live at 1671 Valley View Drive, Winona, and I was a member of the Visual Quality Committee for the Interstate Bridge project. And there was a significant amount of discussion during our long period of trying to make the bridge as aesthetically pleasing as possible. And we tried to take into consideration all of the visual aspects from all different areas, from the bridge and on and off the bridge and underneath the bridge. And it was important for us to keep in mind the comprehensive plan, which I also was on 3 different committees for a few years back, and how we wanted to make some advancements in the city, especially in the city zoning, and that's one of the major recommendations was the reevaluation of city zoning, so that we could update and make future plans for how this community would be changing over time. That process will be coming in the future, but is not here today. Keeping that in mind, we wanted to move forward in visual quality control so that we could see the vista from the bridge all the way over into the city and around the community across into the river valley. 2 important features on the bridge were the areas for pedestrian overlooks. And this was costly for both the state and for including in our expectation of overall cost of the bridge, but felt very important for visitors and for the community to have a vista, to look over, see the river, see the valley, see the extension of the community and downriver. We wanted to improve aesthetics as much as we could in the vicinity, looking at underneath the bridge, and all of the amenities to connect the park, Levy Park, with underneath the bridge and an extension of a park amenity. This sign currently, and if it were to be replaced, would be not in accordance with our vision for improving the aesthetics and quality of our community. And with the changing vision, I think we need to keep in mind the importance of how we present ourselves to the public. Today we have apps for finding locations for businesses and eating establishments and hotels, etc. I think there are other advertising agencies that can take care of the advertising for brochures and so forth, and I don't feel that it's necessary to continue with the old-fashioned billboards that clutter the appearance of our community. And I'm opposed to the resurrection of that sign, and I am in concurrence with the Board of Adjustments in denying this request for aesthetics, for safety, for safety distraction, and for the betterment of our community long-term. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
No. We'll keep going here, see if there's somebody else that wishes to speak.
I'm Thomas Malszewski, and my comment is very simple and brief. I realize that we're going to have this new bridge, and to me it's something I'm looking forward to because it could enhance our entire river front. And I know exactly what is planned for the area along Huff Street. But my main concern, I'm not opposing any sign or anything like that, but my main concern at this time is the location of that new billboard, because currently when you come across the interstate bridge from Wisconsin, you see all the superstructure of the present bridge, and that doesn't affect you because all you see is a blur, blur, blur. You really don't see the sign as vividly as you will when the new bridge is being built. Because once the new bridge is built, that whole vista to the west is going to be clear and open. And I think it's very beautiful to see in the distance our community, our hills, our parkland, and things like that. So at my position at this point, I'm opposed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Is there anybody else that wishes to speak? Last chance. Anybody else? Yes. Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. Staff?
Evening, Mayor and Council. I put together just a brief presentation based on the appeal for tonight, and I'll go through it rather quickly since most of the stuff has already been talked about. But the variance request, again, is to locate off-premise sign closer than 650 foot from another off-premise sign oriented towards the same right-of-way. And the second part of the variance request, according to the petitioner, is not part of the request any longer. So we're just talking about the setback requirements under number 1. Here's an aerial photo of the general project area. The bridge project area is highlighted in blue. The Timbers property is in this location right here. The 3 red dots on the map signify existing off-premise signs in the area. And as part of the request, the proposal is to relocate this existing sign, which is just to the west of the existing bridge on the current Winona rental property, to relocate that to a new location just to the west. That location being on the Timbers property in this general area. That existing sign would go away and be replaced by this new sign approximately 250 feet away from the existing off-premise sign at Winona County's campus. And again, that buffer requirement is 650 feet, so that's what the buffer requirement looks like when overlaid with the request. The variance request, again, here's a picture of the existing sign, and the replacement sign would be a monopole sign. And this is the one that is currently on the Winona County property. If you zoom in a little bit further to the Timbers restaurant, this is Huff Street here. Here's the restaurant. The proposal is for the pole of the sign, the monopole, to be located in the kind of the eastern corner in this general location with the 2 faces of the sign extending towards the west, one here, and then another one in this general location here. This is a concept drawing that I pulled off the MnDOT Bridge Project website. Of course, it's subject to continued discussion as evidenced by the pre-council meeting tonight, but what I wanted to do is just show the general location of the sign related to the proposed improvements underneath the bridge. And here is the Timbers property. The monopole would be in this general location with the 2 sign faces in this area here. It'd be just to the west of what is proposed to be a pond or and an additional connection between the interstate bridge and the Mississippi River leading to Levy Park. In terms of the variance request here, the existing bridge project area, the existing sign is on the Winona rental property. That sign was addressed during the right-of-way acquisition for the bridge project. As a result, the city does not have an obligation to grant the variance for the location that's been requested by the applicant. However, MnDOT has requested that the city work with the applicant to relocate the sign within city limits. And just taking a preliminary look at potential locations, a new sign anywhere along the Highway 43 corridor in the city would require some kind of variance to the setback requirements similar to what's being requested tonight. However, there may be 1 to 2 locations along Highway 61 which would be possible without a variance. But again, that would also be subject to what the sign company would desire in terms of marketing and demographics. But just taking a strict look at our zoning code, there may be 1 to 2 locations on Highway 61 where a sign could be placed without a variance. In terms of the Board of Adjustments action on December 3rd, they go through their statutory criteria when making a determination on a variance. That statutory criteria, the first one is the board that must find that the variance request is consistent with the general purposes and intent of the zoning code. In this case, the board found that the variance was not in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance for 2 reasons. First, they cited potential driver distractions caused by too many signs in one area, so safety concerns. Second, the proposed 250-foot separation was found not to be consistent with the sign code updates that were made in 2004 to promote public welfare, so concerns about public welfare and its relationship to aesthetics. Second, the board is required to find that the variance is consistent with the comprehensive plan. In this case, the board found that the request was not consistent with the comprehensive plan because the plan itself promotes preservation of aesthetic resources in the Mississippi River Valley, and because the plan also promotes historic preservation in the downtown area. The third criteria is that the variance has to put the property to use in a reasonable manner. In this case, the board determined that the property would be put to use in a reasonable manner because the sign would be located in a commercial district and there are limited places to relocate the sign. The fourth criteria is about unique circumstances, and the board has to find that there are unique circumstances to the property not created by the property values. In this case, the board found that there were unique circumstances to the property because the variance was triggered by the bridge project, but as was noted in your council packets, should council decide to overturn the BOA decision, the finding above should not be cited as a reason to approve the variance. Rather, council should approach this request as a proposal for a brand new sign, irregardless of the bridge relocation. The fifth criteria is that the variance will not alter the essential character of the locality. In this case, the board found that the sign will alter the essential character of the locality, given plans for a park and ponds in the adjacent bridge project area. And finally, the board takes a look at economic considerations and has to find that the request is not based solely on economic considerations. In this case, the board determined that the standard is not met because the practical difficulties test, which is findings 3 through 5, was not satisfied. So they did not find that this criteria was met in their decision. Again, council options tonight, you could affirm the BOA decision by adopting the findings that are in the packet in front of you. You could also amend the decision by modifying the findings in support of the BOA's denial decision. You could also overrule the decision of the Board of Adjustment, and under this option, following the hearing, closure of the hearing and further deliberation, it would be recommended that council adopt a motion to postpone further consideration and direct staff to bring proposed findings supporting the variance to the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions from council members for Carlos? Guess not. Thank you, Carlos. Any other city staff speaking on this? No? Okay. Well, at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing. And anything else from our city attorney? Okay. Council members? Is there a motion out there?
Mr. Mayor, I move to affirm the decision by the Board of Adjustment and adopt their findings.
Okay, we have a motion by Jerry. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Seconded by George. Well, I'll start. I think the Board of Adjustment got it right, personally. I think that I'm troubled by the 650 feet being changed to 225 feet. I don't think that's a positive, and I think that with the improvements that we saw earlier that are going to be made down there with the new bridge and the work underneath the bridge, I think this would be a distraction. And I think, again, I think the Board of Adjustment got it right, and I would support the motion.
I will also support the motion because I think it's premature at this point until we see as the plans develop. And I would hate to make a decision at this point on approval of something of this nature when we've got a lot of planning stage left on the development of the area underneath it. And I think it would be much easier to reconsider at some point in the future after we see that plan developed.
Yeah.
You know, I guess I don't object as strongly as some to billboards. I think they serve a useful purpose in providing information to the traveling public that traveling public might not otherwise receive. Having said that, and hearing from people the last few days and tonight during our public hearing, I do concur with Mr. Finn and Councilperson Double on the idea that we really don't know what the new bridge will provide aesthetically in our community. And you know, I don't want us to go ahead and, to approve something like this and then be surprised when the bridge is built and the sign is blocking some critical views. We just don't know. There's just too many unknowns. It's not that I don't think, at least I personally would be against it. It's just that I'd like to see how the bridge turns out first before we do that. And I would also ask that city staff, as they've said before, work with this company to provide an alternate location for this. So in conclusion, I do support the motion before us.
Thank you. Anybody else? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And on to the next public hearing, item 2.3. Consider vacating the drainage easement for Technology Park.
I move to introduce the attached ordinance. Second.
It's a public hearing.
I'm sorry. Oh, I wasn't on that part. I
Wait for my
okay.
paper here.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, City Clerk.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'll declare the public hearing open and ask if there's anybody that wishes to speak. Why don't we do that? Who's here from the staff? Well, Keith.
Mayor and council, there is a drainage easement that was put in part of the plat, which my recollection was that it was part of the construction phase. It was not planned to be used long-term, and now that the project is all finished and completed, it's not needed for anything, and it can be vacated.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Keith? Hearing none. Anybody else wish to speak? Ask again. Anybody here wish to speak? Last chance. Anybody wish to speak? Sit down. All right, well, I'm going to close the public hearing and turn it over to council for
I would
motion.
make the motion to introduce the ordinance.
Second it. Motion by Alan, seconded by Paul. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just one comment to vacate requires 5 votes.
Okay. So we'll need a unanimous vote here tonight to pass this resolution. Well. Pardon? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It passes.
Item 2.4 is a public hearing to consider vacating a street easement in the BK First subdivision.
Okay, I'll declare this public hearing open and ask staff again to come up and explain this.
Mayor and council, when Pelzer Street was reconstructed, the layout was changed and a section of the service road was no longer needed. That portion of the road here is being vacated because it's not needed for the road anymore.
Okay. Any questions for Keith? Guess not, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Now you can speak.
Hi, my name is Dana Johnson. I live at 494 Cary Court. Esteemed Mayor, City Manager, Council, thank you for considering this vacation. It's nice that you would vote favorably for this. It's an easement that's no longer used, and it would help bring a piece of property that's not being able to be utilized onto the market so somebody could build on that particular piece of property. Right now, with that easement going through it, it's not a buildable or viable lot. So by vacating this easement, we might be able to offer that lot up to somebody that would like to put a business there. So thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Dana, I'm assuming that you're representing Fastenal at this point,
Okay.
and that Fastenal owns the land that we're dealing with?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
All right.
Got it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I guess not. Anybody else wish to speak? Anybody else here wish to speak to this issue? Last chance. Anybody wish to speak? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing and open it up to the council.
I would move to introduce the attached resolution to vacate the city street.
Second.
Motion by Al and seconded, or by George, seconded by Al. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
And on to the petitions, requests, and communications. Item 3.1 is appointment to the Merit Board of John McCauley for a term January 21st through October 14th, 2017.
I would move to approve that appointment.
Motion by George.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Jerry. I'd like to thank Mr. McCauley for his willingness to serve on the Merit Board. I know it can be a lot of work at times, but it's a very important board to be on. Anybody have any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.2 is a license agreement for portable restrooms by B&S Rentals.
Move to approve the license agreement.
Motion by George.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Al. Discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 3.3 is a request for handicap stall at 459 East 10th, and also request to waive the city fee for that sign.
I would move to approve the introduction of the attached ordinance.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Paul. Discussion?
Clarification, does your motion, George, also include the waiver of the fee?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Not, I was going to amend it anyway, so,
Okay.
okay,
Yes.
thanks.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Under unfinished business, item 4.1 is the DNR tree removal and planting grant amendment number 3.
I think we'll ask Keith to come up again and explain this a little further.
Mayor and Council, I've been on this particular grant a number of times. Originally it was for removal of some trees. Originally it was for planting trees, then it was for some removal of trees. Now we've got a third amendment which can be used for either one. There is a time crunch that we'll have to be getting these trees in before the end of June, so we needed to get some bidding going on. Talking to our crew, I don't see a lot of trees that will need to be coming down. This will be, let me back up a little bit. This is for trees just on the public boulevards. And it's aimed after replacing the ash trees and planting a diversity of trees. So any of these trees that we put in will be native to the area and as diverse and wide a variety as we can put in. And like I said, what we get done has to happen before the end of June. That's the end of it.
Okay, thank you. Questions for Keith, George?
So where the ash trees were cut down this past summer and fall, that'll be priority for replanting of these?
Absolutely. All of those people will be contacted to see if they want one,
Okay.
for first of all, and then we'll also have it open to the public. We'll be buying a lot of trees with this, I think way over and above those that have been removed.
Okay. And when is the stumping plan for those areas?
That's when things thaw. They weren't able to get that in before it froze up, and it's a lot easier to do after, in the spring.
Would these be both for trees that planted by city personnel and trees that owners could pick up and plant themselves?
The plan is that we'll contract for all of it.
Okay.
Have it all done by contract labor.
Can people plant their own trees if they want to? Is that even an option?
On the city boulevards?
Yes.
Yes. We need to know what kind of variety it is.
Okay.
And in this case, I'm not sure why they'd want to buy one, unless it's a non-native, I guess. We're sticking just to the native trees at this point.
Okay. Any other questions? If we have a motion?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I'll move approval.
Motion by Paul,
Second.
seconded by George. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passes.
Under new business, item 5.1 is to set the sale for city equipment certificates.
Mary, did you want to address this?
Mayor and Council, this is the first step for selling the equipment certificates or the bond issue that we talked about last year with budgets. For the equipment there's 2 fire trucks. We have the list is in your agenda, but there were 2 fire trucks, I think one 75 foot, one 105 feet, a grader and some other Public Works equipment. And then the ice equipment for the Bud King facility. And as I say, those were all talked about during the budget meetings last year. Most detail was, I think, at the August meeting for the council work session. And now we're doing has been in the budget. And so you can see what the procedure is. First, we have a resolution to set the sale, and then we will have a public hearing on February 2nd, and that is, again, just according to the procedure for the same issue. And then February 17th, we plan to sell the equipment certificates, and so we'd award the sale that evening, and then the money would be received about 30 days after that in March. Kind of just a normal step-by-step according to the legal procedures. This is the first step.
Thank you.
I would so move the attached resolution providing for the competitive negotiated sale of the general obligation equipment certificates.
Second.
Motion by George, seconded by Paul. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.2 is a resolution to approve the adoption of an ordinance for the general obligation refunding bonds, Series 2015A.
Move to introduce the attached ordinance.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Paul. Any discussion?
Well, we can save a little money this way.
Yep. And the amount is, again, how much are we gonna save?
I think it's 60,000.
60,000, okay. That's significant. Mary? Okay. George?
And the Port Authority approved this as well, so.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.3 is the State of Minnesota Department of Transportation and City of Winona Cooperative Construction Agreement for the Trunk Highway 43 Bridge Project. I would note we distributed an updated resolution with a change in the signatures for that resolution.
So move the approved, or the recommended resolution.
Second.
Motion by Paul, seconded by George. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.4 is the Bud King Ice Arena Grant Agreement.
This is, Chad, do you want to say anything about this?
Mayor and Council, the City of Winona, along with the Winona Area Youth Hockey Association, applied for a grant, the Mighty Ducks Grant Program, funded through the state of Minnesota through the Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission. The intent of the grant was to eliminate R22, a refrigerant that is used in Bud King Ice Arena. And as earlier stated, as part of the equipment certificate process, we are replacing the ice refrigeration equipment at Bud King Ice Arena, which does eliminate the R22. So the city was successful in that grant application, and we were awarded $150,000 toward the refrigeration project at Bud King. So what you're approving tonight is the guidelines and acceptance of that $150,000 from the Minnesota Amateur Sports Commission.
Good job writing the application.
I'll move to authorize the city manager and city clerk to execute the grant agreement.
Okay.
Second.
Just a point
Wait
of,
a minute. I
it
think
should
there
be
was a
mayor,
change on that.
mayor
Oh,
and city
mayor
clerk.
and the mayor. Okay.
All right, motion by Paul, seconded by George. Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 5.5 is the Bud King Ice Arena Professional Services, Professional Engineering Services. And we also had an updated resolution for this item.
Well, we just accepted a grant for the project, so I don't know why we wouldn't go ahead with the engineering for it. So moved. There's a motion by Paul. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Al. Discussion? Hearing none. We'll vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries.
And item 5.6, the Fire Department West Station Addition Proposal.
Chief Biddle.
Mayor, Council, back during the budget process in April, an estimate was had from Schwab LLC for the addition to the West Fire Station. That addition would accommodate the 75-foot aerial truck that will be stationed up there. With that initial proposal, we were looking at a 10-foot interior working space addition to the West Fire Station. That option is option 1, which would extend 10 feet further out towards 6th Street. Over the last 5-6 months, thinking about what we had there, we ran into a few snags as far as variance would be needed for the setback. The overall length of the apron at the West Station would be cut down to 16, not 25 feet, which is stated in the proposal. It'd be 16 feet. I've been to, specking out these new trucks, I've been to two of the largest fire truck manufacturers in the country. I wish I could say that the trucks are getting smaller, but they're not. And the big problem we run into at not only at West Station, where we would run into at West Station, but we run into at Central Station, is the pitch and slope of our aprons. When the trucks back up, it's not so much the overall height, but it's that pivot point where the truck finally gets up and over the apron and levels off. If we went with option 1, we're going to run into that same problem with the pivot point of the trucks entering into the building. There's also some safety concerns that we may want to consider with the option 1. 6th Street, Cummings Street is a little bit different than 3rd Street at Central Station. There's a lot more traffic. With the option 1 proposal, we'd be really cutting down the vision of the drivers pulling in and out of the stations. So we did have some problems. Back in November, December, Warnicke and Associates provided us with a second option, which is listed as option 2. And throughout the statement here, I have a bunch of kind of benefits to going to option 2. And just a little history on the West Station, that addition was put in 1990, and to the Bay Area. And I don't think anybody foreseen just how big fire trucks were getting. And it's amazing with the trucks that we have in the station now, how very little room we actually have. And we won't be able to get the 75-footer, but it's amazing how big engines have gotten. And with the option 2 proposal, you know, we'd be stuck with the 10-foot addition with the option 1, but the option 2 would offer us 28 additional feet to I believe, the East Bay area, and another 18 feet to the West Bay area. And I would just hate to see us back here 20 years from now hashing out a space issue. And I guess I'd hate to have that shoved on the next chief. This option 2 would provide us with many different options, even response options. We could theoretically in the future look at possibly running a different type style EMS vehicle out of that station and kind of save on the wear and tear of some of the engines. So I am here requesting and hoping that we would pursue the option 2 for the West Station addition.
I would so move that we approve option 2 for the current and future needs for space at the West Fire Station.
I'll second that.
Motion by George and seconded by Al.
Just have a question. I noticed in the plans you're going to kind of reverse the plumbing in option 2.
Yeah, we'll flip around the bathroom a bit. One of the things I did forget to mention, we have a flat roof, a 20 by 25 foot section of flat roof. And with that option 2 proposal to go to the south, that flat roof is there's probably about 6, 7, 8 inches of ice stacked up on there right now. It's a slip hazard. It constantly freezes and drips and refreezes, and just the safety end of it as far as a slip hazard would probably offset any injuries and the cost difference in the future. So, but yes, plumbing would change a little bit with the bathrooms, and with the option to move to the south, we won't have to worry about a variance. And it might be a little hairier as far as the actual construction length, but I think it's quite a beneficial option to have and look at. So
I've seen the trucks, jockeying around even today, and out there. I don't think today, but in the weeks past, and I know there's a definite. The drivers are very skilled at backing the rigs into the building now, and I think option 2 will allow that to happen with greater efficiency.
Well, I think there's a lot of good reasons why option 2 should be favored over option 1, but to me, I think one of the best reasons is that the station could keep operating during construction. To me, I think that's
Mayor,
pretty
I've lost
important.
some sleep over this. With option 1 initially being thought of, I truly didn't know where to put an engine to keep that station open. The apron would be closed down, construction would be off the north side. We'd have to look at changing curbage and no parking in certain areas to keep that station open.
George?
Just another subject. When the big ladder truck to 105 gets down to East 3rd Street, will that truck be able to fit okay in the building, or do you see anything being done there?
And next month, I believe I'm going to have to come back and we'll present which options, but we're actually limited we're leaning towards a company that'll actually offer a lower profile engine or aerial truck, just for the sole purpose of it fitting into the station. It's unbelievable how big trucks get. And they've actually started designing rear axles that turn just to allow for extra lengths on trucks. It's unbelievable.
The old tiller seat is gone,
Yeah,
right?
well, I saw a few tours up at Pierce, but they're still in. So.
Okay, any other questions for the chief? Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Item 7.1 is council concerns.
We'll start with George tonight.
Okay, thank you. Last week at our HRA board meeting, we elected officers, and I was elected to continue to serve as chairman, and James Kirk will be serving as the vice chairman. So those are the officers or the board of directors, the 2 officers of the board of directors for the upcoming year. So any concerns, please, feel free to call myself or James or any board member or staff out there with anything. I'd just like to end just on simply offering condolences to the family of Lenny Strange. Lenny, who passed away this past Saturday, was a longtime truck driver for Briggs Transportation here in Winona, and he served his country very, very proudly in the military, serving, I believe, in the branch of the Navy, and he's also the father of retired firefighter Larry Strange. So condolences to that family as they continue to move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul?
I just want to comment on the fact that I was driving up from La Crosse yesterday at just past Fleet Farm, when there was an accident there, and I think that we just constantly keep on our radar the idea that we need to deal with that area in some solution from a safety standpoint, or we will continue to have accidents there that can be prevented. And the other thing that I wanted to comment on is the fact that with the TIF and other agreements that we've had, that every new family that moves to Winona, every student that is of K-12 age group that moves into the public schools brings with them $11,533 in state aid money to the school district. And we just keep that in mind, that growth alone can bring substantial dollars to the school district to prevent local schools from closing.
Okay, thank you. Jerry?
Nothing this evening.
Al?
I want to thank city staff, Public Works Director Nelson for helping a constituent in the first ward with a sewer issue, and let's hope that gets resolved. And also, I want to wish Councilperson Alexander continued recovery from her surgery, and hope to see her on council very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Under the consent agenda, there are 3 items. The approval of the minutes from January 5th, final adoption of an ordinance to establish a 4-way stop at 5th and St. Charles, and a claim against the city by David Rasmussen.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Al, seconded by Jerry. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries.
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Not so bad. Here's the latest on the kids. This was in the